Welcome everybody. This is the What the Fi podcast and YouTube show. We are talking all about everything to do with Web3, Metaverse, NFTs, DeFi, DAOs, and much more. So I invite you to come along on our journey here at the Crypto Hub, where we will be doing a lot more talks just like the ones we're going to have here with some very awesome guests. I'll see you there. All right, welcome back everyone. We are here with a special guest from the Oz DeFi group, Juan. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. And I'm saying it's great to have you here because for a while there, we didn't actually have you in town. Could you tell our guests where you went?
Yeah, I went to this Ethereum conference called ETHDenver, located in Denver, Colorado. A bit cold, but a lot of people. Actually, 10,000 people went there.
Oh my gosh.
Which is which shows that it's a good conference.
It's a lot of cold people, but I guess if there's 10,000 and you're filling out a room, a big room or something like that, you're probably going to be a little bit warmer. Was it warmer inside when you went to ETHDenver?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
So let's tell the guests, like ETHDenver, we're seeing things like there's ETHCC and going around the globe. There's other ETH events. There's even talk from groups to bring ETH down under later this year. But what are these ETH conferences? Like what is ETHDenver?
So ETH conferences are just it's an event where I guess you can call like Ethereum enthusiasts or developers, investors, they all congregate together to find out more about like the current developments of Ethereum. But ETHDenver especially, it's really more focused for builders. However, I did see a lot of VCs roaming around, ready to invest in people and teams and products. So if you are in a non-technical people, don't get scared of ETHDenver. It's definitely worth your time.
Yeah. So even if you're not too technical, like you might not be a programmer or a coder, but you can still attend and get something out of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you will. There are a lot of technical workshops, but also there are a lot of more workshops catered for beginners, I guess you can say. And then you just learn a lot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even as a beginner, you can go in there, not just watch, but you can actually participate.
Yes, definitely.
No, that's amazing. Very important question for the people at home. What was the vibe like?
Yeah, very dev heavy. You will see a lot of people with hoodies and computer nonstop. But yeah, as I said, there are a lot of VCs too. They're as I said, actually. I think there's a massive dev shortage in the crypto markets in general. So I think people are there to recruit for their projects. People are there to invest in looking at different projects. So yeah.
I think you're right. Like I was just listening because it's Blockchain Week in Australia this week, and some of the talks have been about how there has been. It's really hard right now, where we are in early 2022. To get really good developers. So what they're saying is we need to push and have more education and get developers up to speed. I mean, we're working on some stuff in the background, and as former developers, like Web 2 developers, it is a bit easier to pick up Web 3, but like you said, anyone can learn and stuff, right? So,
Yes.
So that's really good. So we'll make sure we get the audience and share them some links to look into that. But let's go back to ETHDenver and the conference. How were you able to get in? How much was it? Yeah, could you tell us a bit more about the logistics?
Yeah, it's actually free to get in. You just have to register your interest as soon as the portal is open. They actually base your application success based on how early you are. And yeah, free for the amount of stuff you get. Like I got a suitcase full of swag.
Wow.
Yeah, backpacks, everything, and then free food even because it's almost like a fully catered event.
That's amazing.
It's quite insane. Like there's even like an open bar every night if you want to party a little bit after doing a lot of workshops. It's definitely a weird experience how much free stuff there are.
Yeah, did you feel like, okay, if all this is free, what are they taking from me? Am I being filmed everywhere or something? Like, what's the trade-off?
Maybe,
Why do you think they made it free?
Maybe it's always been free, and then I heard it's one of the earliest Ethereum conferences, so I'm pretty sure there are a lot of whales backing it. So.
Okay. Whales, for those at home that might not know, people with a lot of cryptocurrency, so they're well off, right? So just like whales in the traditional markets. So that's really good. So, I mean, it sounds like you're an enthusiast. I think you and I were talking about probably going to the next one, but for those at home, why should you go? Can you tell us why you think people should go?
Yeah, the other good thing is, since, as I said, a lot of early backers of Ethereum are attending it, you will get to see a lot of speakers that have been in the space for actually since day one, probably, of Ethereum.
Wow.
Like Vitalik Buterin was there, and really high caliber people like Kimball Musk was there, Elon Musk's brother. Andrew Andrew Wang or Andrew Yang?
Oh yeah, the presidential candidate.
Presidential candidate. That's just to name a few, and there are a lot of like real OG Ethereum people.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
I think we saw the highlights, and for people at home, you can watch a lot of the talks for free because they've been streaming it when it was on, and also the recordings after to YouTube. So that's really good. So I guess, whether listening to what we're talking about now, or even if they want to watch it, they can see all of this stuff via YouTube. Let's finish off with what do you think, what were your findings from the event, and what do you think comes next?
So I've got a bit of a list here.
Go ahead.
All on the show notes, by the way.
Yep.
First, there's just a list of protocols that I've, and I just think they're super interesting. First one is Railgun. So privacy in blockchain transactions is almost non-existent. If people know what this address is, who owns it, then there's almost no way to obfuscate your identity with that address.
Okay.
This Railgun thing uses a little bit of a ZK, zero knowledge technology to obfuscate your transactions, a la Tornado Cash. So your
Tornado Cash being a mixer.
Yeah, and do have a look at their website. Like, I'm not exactly 100% clued up on this protocol, but I think if they actually are successful enabling privacy for all transactions, not just standing transactions, then I think it will be a massive thing.
So that's Railgun.
Railgun.
Okay, we'll have to make sure that we include that one in the show notes, and we'll definitely be looking more into that one.
Yeah.
What was the other ones?
Superfluid. So you know how when you do a transaction, it's usually just a block of money. Like you send one ETH to another address, and that's it. Superfluid does it a bit differently. Like, you can enable a stream of payment. So it can be like 0.0001 ETH every minute, but you only pay gas once.
Wow.
Which is, I don't know how they do it. Have a look at their website in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be very interesting for whether it's purely Web3 and blockchain native, or even if it's the Web2 coming on board and businesses. Transaction fees and gas are a big thing that kind of blocks people from doing the things that they want to do. So that's going to be really interesting seeing that. So that one was Superfluid?
Superfluid,
okay,
yes.
Very good.
Third one is a bit of a game that I noticed. It's I mean, you guys know about NFTs obviously by now, and I think the next thing will be gamified NFTs. I think that's going to be the next. You can say maybe narrative in the NFT space. This game called Fish Fight 1. It's a bit of a 3D game that works on your browser.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to download something.
You don't have to download something and then run the exe on your Mac or your Windows. You just open up your browser, type in fishfight.1. Shows in the show notes.
We'll make sure that we have that in there. That's good.
Everything is like it runs on Harmony One. It's it's running WebGL, which just runs on your Chrome, and it's not and it's just I think for something that's 3D and working, and it's actually it's working before they sell the NFTs. Well, other
wow.
projects, right? They will promise a 3D game first in your roadmap. No, they're doing it the other way. Like they make the game.
Pixelmon, you know?
Yeah. You guys know. So yeah, that's
interesting.
Fish Fight 1. They have a grant for Harmony, so the team is gonna go places, in my opinion.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that we include all of those. So Railgun, Superfluid, and Fish Fight 1
Fish Fight, and
in the show notes.
Yep.
And
just one more.
one more. Okay, what have we got?
Yeah, and the other narrative that I think will take over the whole crypto space soon, in my opinion, is zero knowledge proofs. And there has been some developments in using zero knowledge proof as a scaling solution to Ethereum.
Okay.
And this company called Starkware, I think they have it done in the best way possible. It's a very mathematical heavy topic, but I'll just leave you guys
Sure.
the link in the show notes if you guys are interested. But the fact that Vitalik did the seed funding for this piece of technology, that actually says something, right?
Well, definitely, if he's backing a project, you know he's serious.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of thought that's gone into that. So Starkware, we definitely have to include that in the show notes. Some people probably haven't heard of the ZK or the zero knowledge and stuff like that. So we'll probably have to get you back on to explain that a little bit more as you dive into it. You know. So.
Yeah. No worries.
Okay.
And the next event that we're interested in, as we just mentioned, ETHCC. We have left the link in the show notes too.
Yep.
It's in Paris. It will be about a whole week. So
Not 10 days.
no, not 10 days.
Disappointed.
I know.
But hopefully, I think as you were showing before, the events page for these, whether it's ETHDenver or the ETH Paris, they open up, but then there's so much demand, so people just jump on it straight away. And so currently, there's nothing that we can get, so we'll just have to keep on checking back in.
Yeah, check out the link that we post on the show notes, and the tickets will release in waves. So if you don't get it in the second wave, just wait for the next wave.
Just keep waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll watch those waves. But Juan from the Oz DeFi Association, thank you very much for being here, and welcome back from ETHDenver. Hopefully Australia's accommodating, it's not quite Denver, but we'll see how we go.
Sounds good.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
And welcome back, everyone. And this is a very important part of the segment because we've got the wonderful crypto Karin here with us in studio today. Welcome.
Thanks, Mark. So happy to be here.
We're glad to have you here. And I say it's an important part because this is the space that is a barrier to entry for many people just getting in, which is all about education. And as we understand it, you're doing some amazing things in educating people via your various channels, and you're continuing to build some amazing things. But before we get into that a little bit more, if someone was to go to you and say, how do I start learning about crypto, what would you say?
Well, I probably started with bits and bobs here and there, and I spent a year piecing together the various bits of crypto education. I would say there are some amazing resources on YouTube. That's probably what I would go straight to. Or if you want to take it more seriously, there are some courses on Udemy, and there are a lot of online academic, sites where you can do courses and learn yourself. But it can be really overwhelming at the start.
I think like anything, whether it's financial markets or even programming or something else, learning at the start is always not the easiest. It seems like overwhelming and difficult, as you say. But how do you feel as you progress through that? Does it get better?
It definitely does, and I think a big part of it getting better was finding communities that you can ask questions at and you can feel safe, because I started learning about crypto when I started learning about the stock market. I had a bit of time at the start of the pandemic, and all my friends were investing and buying houses, and I felt like I was falling so behind. And then I realized, okay, I need to start learning about traditional finance. And then you start hearing whispers of like Bitcoin and crypto, and then I started diving in, and as many people in the crypto space would resonate with. It's a bit of a rabbit hole. So it definitely gets easier. I think once you get over those big initial hurdles of what Bitcoin is, what crypto is, why it matters, why it's important for us to learn about it, it gets a lot more fun as well.
No, that's brilliant. And I guess one of the things that people don't often think about, we use it every day. You know, we've got fiat money.
Yes.
And people don't even think about the origins of it and how we got to where we are. But I guess, is that part of the, you know, the crypto education, would you say?
A big part of it. So as I said, I started learning about traditional finance and the stock market and fiat currency, which if people don't know, it's government backed and government supported currency. And you start learning about fiat currency and you say, okay, so the government can just do this and look at what's happening with inflation and look at what's happening with this management of fiat currency. And then you learn about crypto, which is this alternative, and you think, okay, so who's backing this? What's going on? And then you start getting really interested in learning about what the whole thing's about.
You kind of go down the rabbit hole.
Exactly, many rabbit holes.
Yeah, and I think this is probably a good YouTube kind of rabbit hole to go down.
Definitely.
That's very good. So, you know, that's how to get started, but people often wonder, like, why should I? Like, can you tell us about a bit more of the importance of crypto education?
Yeah, so I think what we don't want to happen is for what some of the problems we had in the traditional finance space to carry on into the crypto space, which is women investors, for example, have been really left out of TradFi, and we don't want, you know, those discrepancies carrying on into the crypto space, because the research actually says that women are interested in investing in Bitcoin and are interested in the space but don't know where to begin. And I think that's a problem that we have in education is empowerment, right? So you can't be involved in it, you can't know about it until you start learning about it, and then you can be empowered to actually make investment choices and make choices that other people are making.
Love that. One of our favorite words at the Oz DeFi Association is empowerment.
Yes.
So I think it's very important for people to realize that. And you mentioned here that cryptocurrency is not just about investing. I think people hear the term currency and immediately think, oh, this is just investing and stuff. And so many people don't realize that there is actually more to it than that. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Definitely. So I think once you start learning about cryptocurrency, it's pretty quick, and then you'll start learning about blockchain technology, which is an underlying technology that the currency sits on. And once you start learning about the potential of an immutable, decentralized ledger where transactions and other trades and many other things can sit on this ledger supported by many people around the world, I think that's really exciting as well. I think once you learn about crypto and then the underlying technology, and then you can be empowered to make those decisions we were talking about.
Love it. It's helping people. There's a lot of just free education out there.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, and it's great that you're, you know, sharing more of that with people, and, you know, that they can actually search for that themselves. But what do you think are some of the barriers to crypto and getting educated in that space?
Yeah, so some of the barriers are that it can be really overwhelming and complex to start with, and you kind of do what I did, which you want to avoid, but the patchwork information here and there, and then you're missing bits, and then there are so many gaps. I think a big part is we have to remember that it's a new, relatively new asset class, and it is volatile, and there is a lot of misinformation online. So what you kind of want to avoid is, you know, you want to avoid investing in what your friend says or what some guy online says, misinformation and FUD we were talking about earlier, fear, uncertainty and doubt, and bad media. We want to avoid that kind of thing. And then I guess one barrier that I had was it can be tricky for a woman, because there was certain communities where I would ask questions and I would not get the kindest of responses. And I think I pushed through that and found really welcoming, lovely communities. But I think one thing that's really important is to have women or minority-led communities, because those translate to safe spaces where you can ask questions and feel safe to ask those questions that you feel silly asking. I think that's really important.
I think you're absolutely right, and we see some of this. Luckily, it is I think in the minority, this abhorrent behaviour
Yes.
from commenters, especially when women do put out their content
Yeah.
about the crypto space and even just finance in general. But you get some abhorrent comments, and we do our best to kind of battle some of those
Yeah.
personally. And from whenever we see it,
Yeah.
but it is something that, as you said, we just have to keep on pushing through.
It gets old pretty quick.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, but how do you know? How do we know about your? Like, there's a lot
Exactly.
of armchair kind of keyboard warriors and stuff,
Absolutely.
and it is just not on in this space. This space is all about collaboration,
Yeah.
and empowerment, and community. So
Absolutely.
we are definitely fighting that, and we'll keep going. So that's good.
Absolutely.
Barriers are there to be climbed over, and that's what it's all
Yes.
about. But let's go back to the education side. What are some of the solutions if people are looking around and wanting to get educated?
Yeah, so I think one thing that I've seen lately is platforms and exchanges themselves are offering a lot of education tools, and there are some even where you can complete tasks or quizzes and you can be rewarded in crypto. I think the best thing is to look for reputable sources, or if you're even just going on YouTube, go to a channel that you can see has been doing this for a while. I would just say look out for reputable sources and not just, whoever you see online first up.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And hopefully as we grow our channel, we can become more of a reputable source of
Exactly.
information as well. No shilling or putting out information to try to get people into things that they shouldn't be. It's all about education, and we'll
Absolutely.
continue all of this. But let's finalize with going back to women in crypto. You've
Yeah.
sent across some statistics here and some data about women
Yeah.
in crypto. Could we talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, definitely. So it's interesting because the research says that women are keen to get involved in the space. So if there are billions of women that are keen to learn about this alternate asset class and to be empowered in the space, but there are those barriers to education. Think about how much talent we're missing, how much skills we're missing, how much interest is there that we just really need to harbor and make feel safe and make them feel that, this is a safe community where you can come and learn with us. And that's really important.
Absolutely agree, and we will share all of those links in the show notes. But if people
Awesome.
want to find out more about the education that you're providing,
Yeah.
what are the areas that they can look? What are some of the places we've seen, but for the people at home,
Yes. So a little self-plug.
Please.
So I'm on TikTok. I'm crypto_Karin, Karin. And then on YouTube, I have a beginner's guide to cryptocurrency and blockchain course, which is going to be a 10-part series, which takes people from knowing absolutely nothing. I basically designed it for me, who I was 2 years ago, starting crypto and being like, what is this? Why does this even matter? And then throughout the course, you learn about the power of crypto, the power of the technology, the importance of decentralized finance, and where this technology could take us. We're at this opportunity where we're building a new world, and so my content explores that.
Fantastic, and that sounds like a great menu of options for people to look at and listen to and read about and watch. And we certainly enjoy watching all the
Thanks
cool
so
TikTok videos that
much.
you've done.
Yeah.
We'll have to get you back on the show for more and an update as to where it's all going. But in the meantime, everybody, thank you so much for coming, Crypto Karin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
And we are back with a very special guest. We've got Harry Dell from Cadena Legal. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you, Mark. Good to be here.
Great to have you. And we're going to be talking all about regulation. It might not be a favorite topic for many people in this space. They probably wanted to avoid it, but unfortunately, we really do have to get into it because it's going to affect all of us. And actually, it's not as bad as you think when you get into it. So let's get straight into it. Where is regulation at here in Australia?
Regulation in Australia right now is at a very important crossroad. So we've got consultations from government on banking, on finance, on the Corporations Act, and most importantly, in my opinion, is the tax regulation. All of this uncertainty creates fear amongst investors, amongst funds, amongst punters, where they can't get things done. So right now we're getting consultation from the community, the advisor community, the funds, anyone who's relevant, but we're also looking at the rest of the world and seeing what they're doing. So we've got examples of El Salvador where they have volcanoes mining Bitcoin. That probably won't work here. But there are some very good regimes out there like Dubai. Singapore's doing something a bit different. So we're trying to see what works, what doesn't. We're not the first mover, but that might be the best place to be.
No, that sounds good. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to being a first mover, but Australia's always done well from following on from others and I guess improving it. We've got a chance to look at what has worked overseas by not being that first mover. And in terms of, where tax, with all of this, your specialty is tax, so hence you get a lot of demand. You've got your own Discord, so we'll talk about that and get that into the show notes. But tax regulations, why is that important?
So not every country has tax as such a big factor. But in Australia, tax is the biggest lever that government will pull to influence our behaviour, how we act, what we buy, what we don't buy. A great example I always use is there's a reason you see 4X ads and mid-strength beer ads everywhere. It's because they're actually subsidised for tax purposes. They get a lower excise rate. Government wants us to have that beer because they think Australians drink too much full-strength beer. Just like tax regulation, we need to give it the right amount of certainty, the right amount of protection. We can't give it concessions though. So people are coming into this saying we want it to be tax-free, we only want to pay tax when we convert it back to AUD. That's just not going to happen because that's not fair to other asset classes like property, like shares, anything else. It's not going to be a preferred asset class because there's no benefit for the government to do that. Another example is the government wants you to buy your own home. They give you tax concessions for it, they give you duty concessions for it. The government doesn't need to give us an incentive to buy crypto. All they need to do is to make it a fair system and a clear system. But it could propel us to be the Silicon Valley of crypto.
Wow.
We don't need to be no tax. We need to be clear, the right amount, good protections, and all those other parts of regulation as well to make sure that we attract the best talent.
I like it, and I think that that kind of maybe some people might look at it as a middle ground or think it's too harsh or think it's too light, but unfortunately we can't please everybody. But we do need to have something in place because, as you said, a lot of businesses and a lot of individuals just haven't had that clarity, and without the clarity it's very hard to take actions. But with clarity we can do things and have those building blocks that hopefully, as you said, we could be a Silicon Valley. Imagine that, like here in Australia for crypto, we punch well above our weight, don't we? So I can really see something like that happening. So that's amazing. In terms of, I guess, the outcomes that we want from tax regulation change, what do you think we should be looking at as, and maybe it's different for different types of individuals and participants in this space, but overall, what are the outcomes that we would want from tax regulation anyway?
So there's one thing that everybody wants, and that's clarity. We need clarity on how it's going to work, and that means reworking basically the entire tax law to apply to capital gains tax, to income tax, goods and services tax. For example, we've got a very technical issue where apparently we have to charge GST on the sale of an NFT. That doesn't make any sense. So they're the kinds of issues we need to fix. The ATO isn't going to be able to chase those. It needs to be easily administratable for them. And it needs to be future-proof. That's a really important and difficult problem to solve. We have a very old tax argument about, do we want simple, broad legislation that'll be future-proof, or do we want specific legislation that's very clear? It's a very hard balance to get. But this industry moves so quickly that if it's not future-proofed, trends will come and go, and we can't even understand what the tax consequences are. For example, Olympus DAO forks, rebasing DAOs. We never got any clarity from the ATO because they're more than a few years behind. It's already come and it's basically already gone, and we still don't know the answer. So whatever we get needs to be clear and future-proof, and that's very hard to do. They have their work cut out for them. I really just hope that the industry voices are at least broadly consistent so government can at least do the best effort and not get too confused.
I think it's very interesting, and I'm sure that people watching this segment of the show are going to have questions for you. So we mentioned Cadena Legal. What about other areas? So we know that you get a little bit into the social media.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, could you tell us about that and discussions on other channels as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I like to engage with the client, a potential client base directly. And not many lawyers really do that. So I'm quite out there. I'm on TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn, I've got a Discord server. You can come and ask questions. Most of the time I'll answer them. I've got lots of great people in my community that help out as well, including great accountants and other professionals. But it's about getting the conversation going, because for the last 4 or 5 years, at least, people have been putting their head in the sand. And it's going to bite them, and rip the Band-Aid off early. You can talk about it freely. Just understand your risk, understand what you can and can't do, and just stay with your finger on the pulse. And a great way to do that is by following me on TikTok.
Shameless plug there, but we love shameless plugs, and we're definitely going to hear more from Harry. We'll have all of your links in the show notes, but for now, thank you so much for coming onto the show, and we'll talk more soon.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mark.
And we are back, and a very exciting episode. This is all about the play to earn space, or GameFi, here with Mike Kelly. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing, Mark? Really, really nice to be here. I'm glad to see that we finally got this moving. Well done.
I know.
Well done, man.
Thank you so much. From early November, October, whenever it was we first started talking, all of a sudden we've got a studio. Like, how amazing is this?
We were talking about liquidity. We were talking about doing podcasts in the pool, talking about Web3. So this is a definite upgrade and not so wet.
Oh, exactly. And for people back home, comedians in cars getting coffee, that kind of stuff. So we're like, well, this is all about liquidity, pools and stuff. Let's do it in a pool, so not so wet this time around, but we're here, and who knows, maybe we will do something there, but we're here to talk about GameFi.
Absolutely.
So first of all, before we even get into it, how and why did you get into GameFi?
Yeah, so I think it probably makes sense to explain. So I run a play to earn guild, so I don't actually make the games themselves. I run a guild, so what my role is to bring the players to the games and also the capital to the game. So a play to earn game will have NFT assets within the game. Those assets are used by players to be able to play the game. So for instance, the game that I got into first is called Pegaxi. It's a horse racing game, so I own the NFT assets of the horses, and then I rent them out to people to be able to use them. I got into it because I've always been a bit of a nerd. I always loved playing games. I grew up with Mario, Zelda, and I've always been really big on building communities. So for me to have an opportunity to be able to be in the gaming space and build a community of people that I really like being able to help, that's why I got into it.
Mate, fantastic. And what's amazing is that people, they're very drawn to whether it's like NFTs and the Metaverse, but gaming is like a big area. And so people just learning the fact that there is this thing such as GameFi and play to earn, I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes to this. But could you tell us a bit more? How does GameFi actually work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting question. And I think there's a lot of things that people are still working out around how this industry and how these projects actually operate. But basically, as I said before, there's an NFT asset. It's used, generally there will be a guild or someone that owns the asset. They'll rent them out to someone who uses that asset. When they use that asset, so for instance in Pegaxi, when someone races that horse, if they come first, second or third in that race, they win tokens. So that's where the play to earn comes from. It's someone playing a game in order to earn tokens which can be used as money in the real world. So how that is playing out is you've got a lot of people in, say, the Philippines or Vietnam, or even I think Brazil, some places in South America, now using these assets to create earning potential that outweighs what they could be earning in a normal job in their provinces where they are. So it's offering a lot of opportunity. It's not a perfect system yet, and I dare say we'll get into that a little bit, but it is offering an opportunity for people to be able to play games and make money, and within different communities in some of the developing world, like the developing world, it's allowing them to actually earn more money than they were before.
No, that's amazing. And I think there was a documentary on one of the more famous games out there. Like, if people think about GameFi, what is that game that people will often think about?
They always go to Axie Infinity. And Axie Infinity has been a perfect use case of what is great about the space and also what the challenges are. in the space. It's also worth mentioning when you're talking about GameFi, just how the tokens work. So just on like a little bit more of a technical level, there's always going to be a governance token and there's always a utility token.
Okay.
So the governance token is the token that the project will mint and sell at an IDO, and that is what allows the community generally to dictate how the game moves forward. So often these games are DAOs, and I know we talk a lot about DAOs, probably have been talking about DAOs in these episodes so far. So using that governance token, the owners of the token essentially own the game and then can decide which direction the strategic direction goes in. And then you've got the utility token, which is earned and can be spent on doing different things within the game, or that's where people are like earning that utility token and cashing it out to earn themselves fiat currency.
Okay, perfect. I mean, that's some good details there about the mechanics, and people can dive into it. And we'll include some show notes, of course, as we always should with these YouTube shows. But you mentioned the opportunities and a little bit about the challenges, but let's go into the challenges a little bit more. Because, as you said, the space is not perfect. It's early, and there is nothing that starts off perfectly. So there's always some rooms for improvement. What are some of these challenges?
The challenge is that it's so early, and the beautiful part about when a space is early, the challenges and the opportunities are actually the same.
Okay.
Because not the same, but they come from the same thing. So the challenge is that it's early, and therefore people haven't really figured out how to create sustainable economic modeling around how these games work, which creates a variety of challenges. But in that is the opportunity, the first games to crack the economic modeling, and also then taking it a little bit away from it just being about the money. So people play games to have fun. When people start to play to earn games to have fun as well as to earn money, we are going to see this space open up super, super wide. And so the challenges are the fact that inherently in this early space, people are still learning about how to create the tokenomics of these games and create the structures, the economic structures of the games to create a sustainable model that allows everyone to play them and enjoy them long term whilst they're also earning. The enjoyment is really important, and that's where the opportunity lies. So the opportunity is when we can have a game that is tokenized that people actually really love playing. It's going to change the way people think about it. It's going to be less about the ROI, and it's going to be more about playing a game like I was playing Mario Kart when I was a kid. If I could play Mario Kart now, I had a course track record when I was 15 on one of the Mario Kart games. I think I was 9th in the world for time trial. If I was getting paid tokens for doing something like that, that's amazing. So looking at creating an entertaining game that then has the ROI background but isn't focused on the ROI, because that's when we run into trouble with sustainability.
That'd be, I hate to say it, a game changer.
Oh,
Sorry,
wow, that was, you are on fire tonight.
I try, but going from play to earn to play and earn, I think is what people talk about.
100%. Yeah.
And on that note, which projects do you see to be the ones that will take GameFi to the next level?
I'm going to call out Illuvium.
Crystal ball.
Yeah, I'm going to call out an Aussie project, Illuvium, to start with. These guys have been working really hard. We're actually based in Sydney. These guys are based in Sydney, so I want to give them a solid shout out. They've been working really hard on what everyone's sort of calling these AAA blockchain games. Illuvium looks amazing. Check out the trailers. It looks beautiful. It looks like a game that people are going to want to play, whether there's money involved or not. And so their whole thing is fight for your ETH, and that's pretty cool. So you'll be able to play the game, earn some ETH, but at the same time, I think it's going to be a kick-ass game. So that's the first one. Okay. Local, Aussie, homegrown. The other one, check out Star Atlas, essentially Star Wars, but tokenized. And you buy your own ships. You basically can start armies, start governments, like create cities on different planets. It's literally a choose your own adventure Star Wars that you can earn money from playing. So those are my two. I will give a shout out to Pegaxi as well, because I think they have a really bright future, and they've been working really, really hard. They've done really well so far. Probably actually a bit too successful. For their own good. They need to work on getting some of the stuff out that they're working on their roadmap at the moment. But when that comes out, I think they're going to be doing really well too. So definitely a shout out to Pegaxi.
Perfect. Well, you heard it here. Anything to do with GameFi, make sure you hit up Mike in the Discord channels at the Oz DeFi show. But yeah, definitely going to have you back on. Thanks for your time today, and let's talk more soon.
Appreciate it, Mark. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Bye.